Welcome to Under the Hood with Phyron, a podcast at the intersection of automotive, AI, and digital marketing.
If they can't engage within 3 seconds, they're not going to engage.
Smart strategies, real insights, and stories from the front lines.
Make that vehicle look as best as you possibly can.
Let's jump right in.
Hi Simon, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Before we dive in, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what your day-to-day is at Mazda UK.
Yeah, hi, well, thanks for inviting us. Really pleased to be here. My role at Mazda, I'm Digital Customer Experience Manager, and my role at Mazda with my team is to manage all of our own platform output and CRM. So the UK website, national website for new cars, used vehicle locator, new car stock locator, and also our online sales service booking platform as well. So quite a lot of platforms, quite a lot of digital output. So yeah, quite busy looking after all that.
So a man with many hats and talents.
Man with many hats, not sure many talents, but spinning lots of plates.
And sort of what are your biggest priorities at the moment? What's like a core focus for you guys at the moment at Mazda UK?
It varies by platform. I think certainly in the digital environment, I think certainly in the way in which we look at our platforms, we're continually trying to enhance a better user journey for people in our platforms and trying to make our platforms a little bit more integrated. I think it's a buzzword, but we use it quite a lot. We're trying to create seamless customer experiences in a digital environment. That's a key priority. I think the other priorities for us is very much seeing how tech can enable that as well. Forever being talked about tech, what it can do, how it can enhance what we do. And it's really sort of taking a review of what's out there. Is it relevant, and supporting whether that's a right thing for us to do. So keeping platforms busy certainly keeps us very busy, and all the sort of plumbing that makes those platforms work. And for us, we've just recently launched a brand new used car platform back in February. So a lot of work went into that to getting that live, and we introduced reservations for the first time. I know that's not new necessarily to a lot of people, but it was for us. So we've really started seeing the benefits of that, and really now want to see what else we can do to sort of create a better roadmap going forward.
That's some exciting times. So let's dig into used cars and used car listings. First things first, let's talk about the problems with used car listings. I've recently just helped my wife buy a car. Sadly, it's not a Mazda, so don't hate me for that, Simon. But we were looking at new and used and trying to work out the best thing. She wanted an electric car because she does very limited mileage. It makes sense for her. But we saw some real horror shows on used car websites. And it was really interesting how different brands take different interests in the way that the vehicles are marketed, used cars and things like that. Is there any things that you've seen recently that spring to mind that really are a bit of a shocker and a bit like, ooh? I appreciate you've got to be sensitive.
I think I can talk generically and specifically. I think certainly having the responsibility for platforms. We spend a lot of time looking at our own platforms, but we also spend a lot of time looking at others. We like to benchmark. We like to look at best practice, and we try and learn from that. It's a real shame when you do see bad practice. And sometimes it's naive bad practice, sometimes it's just speed or just lack of knowledge. I think certainly when we see speed generally tends to be key in putting cars live. And sometimes that you see less images, poor quality, awaiting images, all things that don't make it easy for the user. And I think the thing we've tried to do very well, or I like to think we've done quite well, is certainly with the support of our used car field team, is trying to educate our dealers a little bit more on what makes a good listing, what makes a bad listing, and trying to lift those that are probably not as high as we'd like them to be, and the standards that we set a little bit higher. And I think it's just an education. It's horrible to see. And I think the mentality we try to approach is trying to give customers the same experience digitally that they could get physically. You wouldn't go into dealers and they'd be presented with a dirty car. You wouldn't be going to a dealer and said, I can't show you the stock today. And so don't do that in the digital experience. Or being under a blanket
or something like that.
And I think one thing I picked up recently, and I don't think it's necessarily applicable just for today, but it's always been in the digital space. Customers have been shopping in the digital space for a lot longer. And sometimes as a network or necessarily as an industry, we haven't really gone into that arena proactively enough at the same pace that customers are. And customers are very time poor, especially in a digital environment. So you've got to grab their interest really, really quickly. And I saw something interesting on a sort of webinar that I went on recently. It's the principles of the 3-second rule. If they can't engage within 3 seconds, they're not going to engage. So you've got to really make sure what you show and how you show it is the best possible quality you can, or you're not going to gain someone's interest.
No, absolutely. And listen, we've got a shared passion there. I think certainly getting vehicles online quickly is certainly something that we would help with Phyron, and it's certainly something that we're very passionate about. And yes, we see exactly the same thing. Dealers and OEMs putting cars on in a rush to get them off the balance sheet or to sell them quickly. But what are the other common mistakes that retailers make when they're listing vehicles?
I think it's sometimes I call it the basics. Yeah. It's the volume of images, it's the quality of the images, it's necessary. It could be backdrops to the images. If they do video, it's poor quality. It's just little small things that can make a big difference. We see enough insight to show that good quality video works. We see enough insight to say the more images you can show, the better. We see higher clicks on those sort of images as well. So I think it's bound to the basics that I continually see that are wrong. Don't get me wrong. You've got, again, big dealer groups that might have dedicated teams to shoot images on dedicated turntables with backgrounds. There's a structure and a process where someone else is just taking a quick shot, take 2 or 3 images and think that will do the same thing. But when you're looking at the quality of the dealers that do a really good job, if you're not doing a good job, there's a big difference that you're going to see. And, you have to look on whether it's our listings or perhaps wider listings or third-party listings, you can see massive degrees in quality in the way that listings are shown, whether it's quality, dirty cars, all the things that I've said. And as much as they're obvious things to say, they make a huge difference to the user on whether they're going to click it or they're going to phone you or make an inquiry or reserve it.
Definitely. And preaching to the converted here, Simon. So that's great to hear that, certainly that we're on the right track anyway. But, we talked about some of the mistakes, and you mentioned the 3-second rule as well. And again, it's something I'm quite passionate about as well. And I think from your experience, what makes that 3-second rule impactful? What are the best ways to convert in that 3 seconds? I'm not trying to lead you into anything, but what is it in your experience that really gets those customers in that first 3 seconds? What can a dealer do?
It's a combination of factors. It's make that vehicle look as best as you possibly can. Make sure you've got the right messaging that supports it. We wax lyrically at Mazda about the importance of attention grabbers. Make sure the information you're putting into them is the right one. I think sometimes we see as a bad example, I'm not trying to label all of our dealers or bad dealers, examples that I see on third-party sites. You sometimes see a little bit of an old dealer school mentality, manager's special, some of the terminology that, what does that really mean to a user? I hate to say it, but sometimes not necessarily showing high discounts, because we see users are very skeptical of that. Why is it a high discount car? It's just doing things right on balance, good quality images, lots of images. Give customers the same flexibility that they can do in a physical environment. They can walk all around it, they can lift the bonnet, they can lift the boot, they can do everything. Give them the ability to do that. So I think, I know it seems a repetition of what I've just said. It's using the basics, apply the basics, make sure you're thinking through the eyes of the user, not through yourself, to really make sure it shines. And also, I think, there are certain pain points we see with dealers that prevent that happening. It may be the quality of the tech that they're using, or it may be the person who just doesn't know how to do it really well. They're just taking images. And I think for me, looking at bad as well as looking at good, dealers should look at tech where it takes and helps take away some of those pain points it has to make sure that their used listings, wherever they put them, really do shine. Yeah, that makes sense. And, one of the things we talk a lot about is transparency. Transparency of the listing, the vehicle that you're listing. And to your point, customers are super savvy now. They're shopping around more than they ever have done in the past. They are tech savvy. They know how to use tech. And certainly some of the stats that we see is that customers get frustrated because the information isn't there. How important is it to have everything clear and concise and transparent on the website? You made mention to the discounts as well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like the reverse. We can't control the way that dealers want to market their cars other than the best practice that we can share with them. I think just very clear, concise listings, use the insights that are being provided, lots of images, but also the listing, what you're telling. We have an approved used car program. And we really like to push the benefits of that. We've got unlimited mileage, 12-month warranty and a whole host of other benefits. They're really sort of reassuring elements that can support how you position a used car. So it's almost like selling the car in the most concise way you can, but also trying to convince the user of the benefits. I mean, online listings are your silent salesman. Make it sort of as unsilent as you possibly can. Certainly. So no waffle. matter of fact, clear, concise information.
Yeah.
I think that's really clear that it's not just one thing, it's a combination of lots of factors to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Key features of vehicles, the obvious things that between you and I we know, but sometimes don't always translate when I want to rush to get a used car advertising.
Try and chuck as much information as I can.
Throwing too much every and hope something sticks. It's being very clear and very concise. It comes back to that 3-second rule. If you can't engage them quickly, you're not going to engage them at all.
Yeah. But you mentioned you work across many channels as well in your day-to-day life. I'm sure you've seen the impact of video and imagery on those different channels. Can you share some of your experiences of how videos perhaps helped you or seen a marked improvement by using video and good images? And
I think there's a number of ways. If we look cross-channel, we certainly know from a new car perspective that video plays a really important part in customers' research phases when looking digitally, whether it's looking at YouTube videos off your platform or looking at video content on your social channels or your own YouTube page. And we see great interaction with that from a new car perspective. We see a lot more searches taking place within a YouTube environment, for example, on new cars. I think also as well, when you look at social media as well, we see good video content working really well in our social media channels when it comes to new car promotions, whether it's a new car message or it's a campaign message. I think if it's toned in the right way, you can engage people really powerful with video. And our content manager at Mazda is very keen to tell us how well that performs. So I think realistically, knowing video works is an obvious thing to say, and how that translates cross-channel and cross into used cars as well. If people are absorbing that content, provide more of it for them, allow them to do that. And I think it's almost a little bit generational as well. We've got lots of all the generations that we're trying to communicate to, and it's making sure you've got those tools that enable whatever generation they are, whatever media they're absorbing, you've got a channel that supports it. You might find more mature people may require just basic images. That's fine, okay. But a younger audience may require more video content to enable them to engage better. So I think we see the benefits from a new car perspective. That's why we're in that space and we actively create content around it. But I think it's vitally important, certainly moving forward, that dealers look at that. Some do already and embrace it. And I know through your own platform they do. And we've got one of our dealers trialing that with us at the moment with us. So I think learning from that and pushing that into a used car, I think is vitally important to make sure you've got the right channel mix and you've got the right content being served that everybody can actually engage with.
Yeah, superb. And would you see AI and automation sort of being that thing that stops or speeds up or gives the tools to the dealer and to get that content? You mentioned you've got to have a specialist skill set and software to edit videos and stuff like that. Having a tool that could do those kind of things, would that be an important piece?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really have a conversation with anybody now when we talk platforms and tech without the word AI coming into it. I did a workshop yesterday and the whole conversation was about AI. And it wasn't just automotive, it was financial services, it was lawyers. It was like, oh, wow, how AI is being integrated. But I think realistically, AI is out there, your tools enable that, and there are lots of different tools. And I think, tools like that can enable the pain points or take away those pain points at a dealer level. Whether you've got the skill set in the dealership, whether you've got the infrastructure to do it, I think having consistency and quality is vitally important for two reasons for us. One, we have an approved program. There's a high expectation on what our approved program delivers. But also, we're franchise dealers. We have a franchise dealer network. There's an expectation that the quality of delivery from our dealer network under an approved program is very much at the highest level possible. So tools will help enable that and are with some dealers, less so with others. And I think we need to, as a manufacturer, be in the position that we are knowledgeable about the tools that are out there, what benefits they bring, and how best those dealers can adopt them. Some dealers are there already, are in that space. We get that, and we try and learn from that. But it's really trying to get the consistency of everybody.
And what is the view of AI to the dealers? Are they nervous of it? Are they embracing it? Are they mixed? Is it a very
It's difficult to sort of draw a core temperature because, again, having such a spread of sizes of dealers in our network. I think there's a lot of knowledge of AI and AI tools because dealers are being targeted by lots of organisations, and I think there's always that fear factor. I remember going back many years, when we're looking about digital marketing, that there was a big fear of digital marketing because it wasn't like a newspaper ad that you could run. You couldn't see it, you couldn't feel it, you couldn't touch it unless you were in that space. So dealers couldn't really feel the benefits of it until they started seeing leads coming through from that. And I think AI is a similar thing, really. It's a buzzword, but it isn't. It's there. Customers are engaging with it. You know, how many searches do you now do that it's AI generated through Gemini or one other tool or another? So it's definitely in the space, and I think it's really a case of, for us, we've got a responsibility of understanding what it is and helping translate that into benefits for dealer. We're not fully foot to the floor on AI, I'll openly admit. We're piloting it. I know we've got your Phyron integrated with one of our dealers, which we're trying to learn from. And we're using AI in another different way with lead management, which we're trying to learn from as well. So I think we're certainly whetting our own appetites with it. We're not diving into the deep end. We're certainly paddling in the shallow end. But I think they're the steps we need to, because ultimately our dealers will come to us to understand how best they need to integrate AI and really cost versus return on investment.
We're actively encouraged at Phyron to embrace AI, and for obvious reasons, but we see it as more of a help make ourselves more efficient, so we have more time to do the important stuff. And totally agree. I don't see it replacing anything necessarily in the dealership, more just enhancing and helping. So some great points, certainly. So if I was to ask you to put your future lenses on and look into the future, put your binoculars on, what do you think's coming down the road? What's the next big thing in automotive that's going to shape the industry?
I think certainly if we're looking through a used car lens, I think AI has to be there. You know, what tools are there that enable a better user experience and also assist a dealer and help them sort of maximise their digital space and how they embrace AI. I think one of the interesting things as well, and other manufacturers are already into this space a little bit more than we are, is electrification and EVs, about how the sort of used vehicle park's going to evolve, how that sort of might change the tools that are needed to sell it, explain the tech, and is it different to sort of selling ICE vehicles, which is slightly more, which is something that dealers are very, very familiar with. But I think tech, very much, we have to stay on top of looking forward as far as any roadmap that we have with our own platforms in terms of being aware of what's out there and the benefit it has. And not just closing the door on it because it's cost. You know, I look at a lot of innovations out there, whether I have budget for it or not, because it's nice to be abreast of what the tech is. So that if there's opportunity to embrace it or have a knowledge of it to advise dealers, it's always good to be in that position. But I think the evolution of the marketplace, certainly the tools that are available, and it comes back is how AI is going to influence all of that going forward is going to be quite important, because I learned yesterday how other channels or other silos are actually using AI, and it's really quite scary in terms of oh wow, you know. But then turning it back on us and saying, well, we wouldn't use it in that way because, but then turning it back saying perhaps we should look at that, you know. So I think I don't see the future necessarily of AI necessarily replacing lots of people, because people need to manage AI.
Absolutely.
Know how to talk to it.
Absolutely.
What do you want out of it? But also to understand what it's delivering for you. If it's not delivering for you what you want, how then do you embrace it? But I think there's an interesting time ahead with our roadmap for us and our own platforms as much as anybody else. It's almost like controlling the tech, using the most appropriate tools and understanding how that can benefit the user journey. It comes back to what I said at the beginning. How does it embrace more seamless digital user journeys for users and also support our dealer network?
Absolutely. And it sounds, that's exactly the way I would see it as well. And you know, not to make us sound like dinosaurs, but you and I have been in this industry quite a long time and have seen lots of changes and developments. And actually what's really interesting, what you're saying there, it sounds like the dealer's very central to everything Mazda's thinking about, sort of anything that you're looking at trialing or using. You know, it's got to have a dealer-centric approach to it, and very much a customer-centric approach too. And I think that's really refreshing to hear, because, you know, we do see people just like, right, well, how can we automate that? How can we make it, cut that side of the business out? And, you know, having a dealer focus is really good. So I guess we're near the end of the podcast. I just want to get some takeaways from you, and then, you know, if you have a little bits as well. But if you could give me 3 tips, if I was one of your retailers, I was Simon, I really need help with my used cars, getting cars to market better, or doing, my listings are okay, but my days in stock are over 120 days. I'm probably showing my age. There's probably more 90 days now, 30 days. I haven't been in a dealer for that long, but what would be the practical tips that you would suggest to your retailers to perhaps look into to improve those?
I think there's a number of different ways. I mean, I'm probably one step away from what I say is the front line. Our used car field team are very active with our dealers, looking at stock, looking at right stock mixes, looking at days in stock, turnaround times. So they're very focused on that. Looking upstream, from out the top three things we would always say, and we do preach. I say we as in I, as much as we as in Mazda and our used car team do. We very much treat. It's back to brilliant basics. Yeah. Brilliant basics is very much a term that's used widely, and we use it widely in Mazda, not flippantly. It's like focus on the brilliant basics.
Yeah.
And what are the brilliant basics? Take lots of good quality images.
Yeah.
Use video, great listings, positive attention grabbers, and use tech to support your pain points for the right reasons. Absolutely. But recognise what your pain points are. We've put a lot of emphasis on our dealers over the last 24 months on used cars because of the benefits it brings to our network. So I think, if we can get our dealers all consistently looking at brilliant basics, I think everything else flows through, whether it's profit per unit, whether it's days in stock, stock turn, all those elements come into play. But it comes back right to the beginning. Yeah. You need the perfect digital forecourt. As much as you need the perfect physical forecourt. And it's trying to make that transition as seamless as possible. Yeah. So if a customer goes on your perfect digital forecourt and comes in your dealer, they're going to see a perfect digital physical forecourt because you're adopting those basics physically as much as you are in the digital space.
No, absolutely. And would that be the same selling new cars as well? Would you give anything additional advice on digital marketing for new vehicles?
I think in some ways, new cars is slightly different because a used car is particularly unique.
Yes.
And the standout. I think in the new car environment, I think one of the things that we've always tried to do is trying to make sure, going back, looking at it through the eyes of a customer, because that's where we all start. We want to make sure that the customer, who we know take much deeper digital journeys than ever before, they can see cars on our platforms, they can look at the stock that's available, they can look at the lead time, they can look at the finance, they can personalise the finance, they can value their vehicle and they can make a reservation. But the customer has to be picked up at whatever point they are digitally in the physical space. And I think that's the main difference with new cars. Customers are so empowered digitally more than they ever used to be. Yeah. That the learnings on new car can be similar, but also a little bit different. Yeah. But very much making sure you know where the customer is in his sales process journey. Yeah. So at the point he comes in, you don't start going back to the old-fashioned first step on the qualification. Yeah. He might be at step 7 out of 7, but don't start him at 1. So from a new car perspective, I'd probably preach a little bit more down the process and sales training route. Yeah. Is actually know where the customer's at and pick his journey up. So he feels his digital journey is seamless going into a physical environment.
That makes sense. That makes sense, and all great points. So thanks, Simon. So before, we talked a lot about used cars and marketing and everything else like that, but tell us what's coming down the line for Mazda. What exciting initiatives you got? Have you got any new models, anything exciting that we should know about?
From a used car perspective, we're going to be relaunching our approved used car program. Yep. That should be coming over the next sort of 6 to 8 months, which we're really excited around, which helps us raise the bar on our approved program, which is good.
Exciting.
Also new products. I mean, used cars need a new product to start feeding from. So we've got some new product coming to market. So next year is a really busy launch cadence for Mazda UK. There'll be 3 models, 2 I can talk about, 1 that I can't. So we've got the Mazda 6e, our first full long-range electric vehicle coming to market in the summer of next year.
And a great-looking vehicle to boot as well. So go
Thank
Google
you.
that.
Keep talking like that.
Keep Googling that. I'm not being paid to say that. Google it and go and have a look at yourself. But
totally. Fantastic car. I had one for 600 miles over last weekend and absolutely loved it. That's coming to market. And we just announced last week our all-new Mazda CX-5, which we're all looking forward to. Our family SUVs getting even bigger, and we start seeing that coming to market sort of spring, summer next year. And then there'll be another vehicle as well, which I can't tell you about. Yeah. So next year is a really strong new car launch cadence, but also importance on our used car. Yeah. Plus, we're certainly looking at sort of tools and innovations that can support our sort of digital roadmap, both on new and used cars, both working with our sort of peers at Mazda, but also sort of looking externally at third-party providers as well.
So it sounds like an exciting, busy period coming up. So that's great. We won't hold you too much longer then, because I'm sure you want to get planning on all those kind of things as well. But Simon, the only thing I can say is thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for being on our first ever podcast. It was a great pleasure to have you, and we'd love to have you again at some point. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Will.
That's it for this episode of Under the Hood. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow, share, or subscribe. And stay tuned for more episodes where we explore how AI, automation, and smart digital strategies are reshaping the automotive space. Until next time.